Welcome back, everyone, to the third episode of WandaVision. We're all doing the Zemo dance of Falcon and Winter Soldier.
It's Eric.
Pretend I said that first time, and we did this flawlessly. I'm Brandon C. McClure. With me, as always, is Ben Magnet.
I mean, I may be a little sleep deprived. I'm like, hold up, what did I watch today?
The third episode of WandaVision, Ben.
What?
Where Baron Zemo does this dance in WandaVision. And it's Marc Switty.
Hello.
And Ryan Eliopoulos.
I'm here to talk about my favorite Marvel television show currently in development, WandaVision. Falcon Winter Soldier.
If we are talking about Falcon and Winter Soldier, so let's just dive right into it. This is the third episode of Fake Nerds Watch. You guys know the drill at this point. What do we think about it?
Yeah. Halfway there, living on a prayer.
Halfway through the season. Wow, I can't believe we're halfway through the season. That's wild.
Oh, wait, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. It's only 6 episodes. How long? WandaVision was 9, right?
Yeah, WandaVision was 9.
Because they're half the length, that's why.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Kinda. I mean, like half of WandaVision was pushing 44 minutes.
That's true.
Most of the time anyway, which is about what these are.
Well, if the rumor reports are true, some of these episodes are going to be closer to an hour length as well. So an hour length.
Right.
But they're all going to end up to be around 6-8 hours or so. Whatever.
Yeah, we're looking at the way they structured these are roughly 6 hours, and they fudged it in some places.
Yeah,
Roughly.
Yeah, they did.
I thought this episode was good. Zemo's the greatest thing that happened to this franchise. I love him so much. The retcon of him being who he is so big, but it truly doesn't even matter to me because I got it. I got the comic Zemo. This definitely feels like a TV show. Again, not a bad thing, but this definitely is a TV show. It's cool. Like it's structured like that. Like it feels like that in points. Sharon rules. The thing I always worry about with television shows when there's not many episodes left is real estate and how are we going to solve all this stuff? Or it seems like a lot of stuff we haven't talked about or been even introduced to. I'm curious how it's all going to get resolved very quickly because we are halfway there already. Yeah. And we're still introducing characters.
Yeah, I was surprised that we've already introduced Sharon. We introduced Sharon and Zemo in this episode, and we're halfway through the season.
Yes.
Sparks?
Not like a negative. It's just like, again, because this is a TV show, it's like the structure is interesting compared to just a movie.
Well, because it doesn't feel structured like a show.
Yeah.
It feels structured like a long film.
Yeah.
This does not feel like it had outside of the way that they build pitches for the end of the episode, but even then I could see that in a film. And then you transition to whatever the next scene is.
It's just normally in movies you don't introduce one of your main characters halfway through it. Is interesting. To your character.
I mean, this is an extendedly long one, but I could every extra scene being added kind of thing. But it just doesn't have the flow necessarily of television, and I feel that in some ways. But that it's not at a troublesome level.
No,
but it is present.
I just wanted to say real quickly that I will accept and acknowledge every criticism, but I love this show.
Yeah,
I love this show a lot. And
I'm glad. I like it. I like it a lot too. It hasn't given me the extra oomph. It's given me the cool moments with Isaiah and Zemo, but I'm waiting for it to fully click. Shit, baby, the full package has arrived. And I'm just getting a whole lot of really cool things not yet together for me.
If this nails the ending, specifically because WandaVision I was really hot on, and then the ending kind of left me cold. But if this nails the ending, if this were a movie, this could be in my top 5.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Okay.
But it's not a movie, so I have to rate it differently. But still, that's how much this episode solidified for me how much I love this show.
Yeah. There was one thing. Oh, sorry, Ben, you haven't said anything. Go ahead, Ben.
No, I mean, this episode, we got Zemo. I freaking love Zemo. I freaking absolutely love Daniel Bruhl as Zemo. I loved it. He's really good. And I was surprised that we got Sharon Carter this early. So I'm really excited to see him. And I'm also glad that Zemo, I mean, we'll get into it later on, but I'm just glad that Zemo is I actually really like Zemo kind of being that bad guy that the good guys have to team up with because he knows his stuff. And even though he's still doing bad guy things every once in a while, I don't want to spoil it, but Brandon, when you said that I'm glad you love the show. I don't know if I'm there yet. I really do like the show. I really enjoy it, but I feel looking back on it, especially with WandaVision, I was more like, I want to see what happens more with WandaVision than I am with this one. As much as I really enjoy this one, as much as I want to see what happens, WandaVision, I felt like had more of an air of mystery around it that kept sucking me in. It's like, who is doing this? What exactly is Wanda's power set? How come we're going from 2 different decades? And then when we got like the carrot episode of episode 4, where it's like a lot of our questions were answered, but not all of them. I feel like this one's like everyone's like, oh, you have a question from that last episode? It's answered this one. It's like, I don't know.
It's a more traditional show. It's a more traditional Marvel product.
Yeah, it's more traditional.
That's actually why it feels a little refreshing to me, because WandaVision, like I said this before when WandaVision first, when they talked about Falcon Winter Soldier and how different it was going to be to WandaVision, they talked about how it's not going to be as mystery heavy as WandaVision.
Right.
And I was what I said was, I'm actually glad, as much as I found that to be fun to do this with you guys for WandaVision, it was kind of exhausting.
Yeah, I do.
And the fact that we don't have to do this with this when we are just looking at a traditional TV show, and in some ways, in other ways not. That's not why I love the show, but it is a more refreshing experience for me coming off of WandaVision.
That totally makes sense. In almost an opposite way for me. There is a mystery here of who is the power broker, and it is a way more traditional. Oh, who is the big bad guy? And it's probably not going to be anybody. Everyone's doing their speculation thing, and I don't think it's anybody important. Mephisto, yeah. But I agree. Like it is. I guess it's a breath of fresh air. But we only had the one thing of WandaVision. It's not like we had 2 years of weird Marvel stuff. You know, we had a break from Marvel, and now we're back to Captain America stuff, which is again, it's good. The thing that really was a detriment to me for this episode was the Flagsmashers, because I think they're good. The direction I thought they were going was going to be more character driven instead of just generic. Oh, I'm a bad guy, and I really feel like all the speculation we did, it's actually going to be just way worse than that, and she's just going to be a generic bad guy at the end. And I think that loses any of the Flagsmasher character development that I know you've talked about a lot.
Yeah. I was surprised to see her kill those people and have that kind of be like, wait, what are you doing?
It came out of nowhere. It came out of nowhere.
Sparks, I forgive you, I interrupted you.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like Megan and I had a discussion about this, and like I started this with saying about how like this feels more structured like just a really long Marvel movie than it does a television show. And I think that's where I'm starting to feel like the detriment of what we're heading into, because I can't see us with 3 more episodes coming out of this with everyone's arcs satisfyingly expressed or told.
Yeah.
And I think they've already thrown the baby out with the bathwater on Carly.
Yeah.
I think Carly's anything that we were going to get character-wise with Carly just went out the window with this episode. I think now there's too many other things they're going to focus on between Isaiah, Bucky, John Walker, Zemo, Sharon.
Yeah.
All that stuff is going to become more prominent. Carly just moved into opposing force slot. Nothing else about that revolution will be really tackled in a nice way. And I'm like, that's not why I was excited about Marvel doing shows. And that's what bums me out, because that shouldn't be happening on the shows. And I already feel like we're heading into that territory.
Now that we have all these characters, I'm really worried that 1 or 2 of them are going to get sidelined in a way that like we've built up. Like now that Sharon and Zemo are here, like if we don't focus on them more, then like they were introduced to like do nothing more. And then you have the Flagsmashers who are just becoming generic villains. And I'm just like, I'm very curious again with real estate, like just how do you fit all this in? Because you have to do stuff with Isaiah. You have to bring that back. Yeah. But you're introducing so much stuff with Zemo, and Sharon's got her own plot going on, but they all tie in with the power broker. I'm hoping, I have a feeling the ending might build it all together into like a big thing where it all meets together. And again, I like this episode a lot. I'm trying not to be like super negative, but I'm starting to feel much like in WandaVision. At the end of WandaVision, we're like, okay, we're starting to see where maybe it's falling apart a little bit with this being a new 6-hour format instead of a movie.
See where I totally understand that, and but to kind of solidify Sparks' point, like the idea Marvel doing TV shows allowed them this real estate they needed to flesh out their villains in a way that we've never seen them do before. We talk about all the time, you know, we have our own scale of villains that everyone falls under, and it's like either you're a Malekith or you're a Loki or you're a mid-tier villain, and somewhere you fall in there. And when WandaVision revealed Agatha's motivations, and she felt close to the the lower end of the spectrum, that was disappointing, especially for something that had 9 episodes. And to see the Flagsmashers kind of go in that direction, I totally understand that is also disappointing, because we shouldn't be doing that. We should be more focused on trying to build the villain arcs.
Yeah, I was really hoping, because at first I was thinking like when because I like the scene where the one guy is like shocked that Carly decides, oh, I'm gonna place a bomb here, I'm gonna kill all these people, because he's like, we just knock them out and tie them up and steal the stuff, we don't kill people. And she's like, this is the only language that understands. Like, oh great, she's going down the whole like, oh, if they're not gonna help us, then we're just gonna hurt more people. It's like, wow.
I don't necessarily think that's a bad direction to go, as long as she has an opposing force to push her back, but I don't think they're going to do that.
Here's my. Go ahead, Ben.
I was gonna say, I guess the opposing force would be Falcon or Soldier, but they're trying to hunt her down, but they're also trying to do their thing with trying to find her in the first place.
It's just with that action in one fell swoop, the conflict between the Flagsmashers and everyone else is immediately less interesting, because up to this point it had been them hunting them because they know they're super soldiers and they're afraid of what they can do, but they haven't done anything so directly dangerous. They've moved around supplies, and that means once they find them, that's an interesting confrontation, because it's a confrontation of ideology, not a confrontation of you killed people. And the problem is that Carly doing that doesn't mean like the guys now know, well, Carly's dangerous, but the whole thing isn't dangerous. All the Flagsmashers are now violent and dangerous because of that action. So that means that conflict now doesn't have that interesting angle to it. There is no room for them to have a debate about, like, are the Flagsmashers right? No, they're terrorists now. And it's over.
Yeah. And as you said, Brandon, like, her doing that, the action itself, like, that's fine. If I have a problem with, they didn't lead up to it. She just became bad. If anything, she just broke bad immediately.
If anything, they led to it in a reverse direction.
Yeah, she was a good person.
They were giving her really good character development with the death of her teacher in this episode, and then talking about it. And nothing in it led to an idea of, that means I've learned violence is the only answer. Nothing instigated that response.
It feels like, to think of Game of Thrones season 8, like Daenerys going bad. Like, it feels like it wasn't earned. This wasn't earned. Like, we got two episodes of this character being good. She is a revolutionary, but that's not a bad thing. She just has different ideologies, like we've been talking about. It's a shame that Marvel keeps doing this. And I really, really hope the next episode, there's something that, like, oh, maybe I did the wrong thing, blah, blah, blah. But I just don't feel that way, because we just got introduced to 2 new characters.
The interesting thing that they could have played with is, and I think they wanted to, but it doesn't quite come off, is they opened the episode with this commercial for the GRC about how, like, we did everything, and then that is juxtaposed into a scene with the GRC police, and so, like, that kind of tells you, that's a visual cue of, like, oh, maybe the GRC aren't exactly the good guys. And then Carly does this, and it's not. It doesn't become now they're on the same level. They're on the same playing field rather than being opposed ideology.
Like Captain America's hanging out with ICE, basically. Yeah.
Yes. That's my whole problem with it, is that they're framing it as the GRC were sitting on 6 months of supplies, not doing anything with it because they were prioritizing the people who needed help and had to keep the supplies in hand for those people, regardless of the others suffering, because everyone has a priority list now. And by having Carly kill all those people at the end, you've now made it so that, like, valid points in her ideology and the Flagsmashers ideology, everything represented by them in Revolution and everything, is no longer going to be up for debate. It's no longer going to be part of the conversation about, is the GRC messing around too much? It just became moot in the major way. And I cannot believe that in 3 more episodes, we're going to get a real dig into, maybe the Flagsmashers had a point. It's just gone now.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the signal I'm getting, because that's unfortunately usually what will happen with things like this. But again, in movies, and I was hoping that in a TV show, we get something from that, especially when we follow Carly through 3 scenes of this episode. It feels like we're supposed to get more from her, what's going on that level. And this turn comes out of nowhere and ruins the whole concept of what was interesting about what they were doing with them.
Yeah.
That soured me probably the most.
Yeah, that really was the big thing for me. Like, everything involving, Cap and Sam, Even though Captain America wasn't in it a lot. Sorry, Captain America's side plus Falcon and Winter Soldier side. That's they were both cool. Captain America hanging out with Ice is like, yeah, that makes sense. That's unfortunate reality.
I do kind of like how we continue with this episode 3, because episode 2 we see him and he's like trying to play ball with Bucky and Sam, and then he's like, all right, fine, stay the hell out of our way. I like in this episode where he's not in it very much, but I do like seeing John Walker's character slowly but surely the wheels start to turn of him going down the darker path. And he's like when he's taught after they go inside and he gets spit on, and then he's like, do you know what? He's like, yeah, I do, and I don't care. He's like, you can tell. He's like, oh, he is good line, by the way. But after they leave, when they're at the prison, and he's like, hey, and is it Hoskins or Hopkins?
Hoskins.
Thank you.
Just call him Battlestar.
All right, fine, Battlestar. When Battlestar's like, are we gonna do like this off the books? He's like, yeah. I was like, oh, this is not gonna be good for you.
Here's the thing. If you wanted to. Sparks is right in the sense that like Carly is now the villain, but the implication that I got in the first 2 episodes was that John Walker was meant to be, and while we're supposed to see him slowly descend into that villainy, and by the end of the series he'd be the villain of the piece. Maybe Zemo would be there as well in some form. I didn't know that he'd be a hero essentially. I'm still waiting for the turn though.
They hit that in the marketing so well. I'm so happy.
So. If John Walker is the villain and Carly is the villain, I don't get who I'm supposed to be rooting for anymore.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, see, I mean that's the unfortunate thing is that like Carly, and thus by association of her, the Flagsmashers lost the moral high ground that they would have in any kind of interaction that would get Bucky and Sam on their side by killing them.
You know what I see actually happening now? We speculated last week that like Zemo would take over the Flagsmashers. I can now see Captain America teaming up with them to get a super soldier serum, and like teaming up with them and being like, oh, actually the US government does suck, and I actually think you guys are right, and you guys are villainous like I'm villainous. And like they're both going to be villains, and like that's even worse. But like
not the direction I wanted that to go.
That's like the Spider-Man 3 of Sandman and Venom teaming up, like because they cross paths.
Yeah. No. To be fair, I said up top that I really love this show so far. My caveat is if this nails the ending, I will continue to love the show. But I am not 100% sure it will.
It's just this episode, specifically,
yeah.
And I mean, like that's also the thing. Like I could be wrong. They could somehow pull the rabbit out of their hat and resolve all this in a way that feels satisfying on what the Flagsmashers are fighting for. Mm-hmm. I just don't really think it'll happen. Sure. The track record of how they handle things like this doesn't say that that's what'll happen, and the short amount of episodes left gives me less confidence that that's where we're headed.
And Falcon and Winter Soldier are going to need big bats to fight in the finale, and I don't think it's just going to be one Captain America. I think they're going to need a bunch of people to fight, and it probably is going to be the Flagsmashers, which sucks. But maybe Zemo is going to be like the Frieza, and like he'll team up with them and then betray him at the end to go out and do his own thing, which I fully expect Zemo to do. Talking about the positives. Madripoor, everything in Madripoor rules. Zemo rules. Rave scenes rule.
God, the scene where Sam is supposed to. Yeah, the dancing was freaking hilarious. But smiling tiger. He's like smiling tiger, and he's like usually like he's like okay, I'll probably just drink. Takes a freaking snake out of a jar, guts it, and I'm like, oh no.
So much good tiny references to not just X-Men comics, because there's the Princess Bar, which is an X-Men comic, but it's it's not going into the X-Men here. Stop going crazy, MCU people. But there's also Smiling Tiger, who is a not even C-list, D-list Captain America villain who shows up very rarely. Who is a very suave, decked out fighter man. And they've managed to get him in here too. I think that's just really cool. Winter Soldier gets to be himself for a little bit, which maybe he got a little too into it.
I want to say real quickly, you talked about Madripoor. The fact that Madripoor is in this show is, I'll say it. It's a sign that the X-Men are coming down the line, because this is Madripoor would have been with the Fox X-Men rights. So if Madripoor is showing up, that means that they have free range of these rights, and they're pulling pieces from them already. But we're not seeing the X-Men or anything in this show. No. But it is cool. It is cool that we are seeing the fruit of that labor already.
100%. And yeah, Madripoor is a giant, like, self-sustaining criminal. It's a scum of hive and villainy. It's Mos Eisley, but in Asia. It's a super cool place. The X-Men will go there all the time. Just loads. Also, the Avengers, everyone goes there. It's where bad dudes hang out. It's a bad dude paradise. Yeah, just like Zemo's whole thing, his escape plan, where Bucky is narrating what's going to happen, but then it actually happens at the same time. So good. I loved everything about it. Like, again, everything involving like the main characters in Zemo, no complaints.
I really like Daniel Bruhl in general as an actor, and I did like his performance in Civil War, but much like Sparks, it left me wanting that movie in general. But seeing him just fully, just like full retcon, Zemo's a great character, was so cool.
I definitely, like, as we were watching it, I was telling Ryan, I'm like, sure, I guess I'll buy that he was a rich baron in the failed state of Sokovia.
He was
had
part,
to go to war.
He's part of like their spec ops, like military division, but also he's one of the richest men in the country at the same time.
And the CIA never knew who he was. I will buy that. 100%. I'll go ahead and buy that because I like the retcon. However, rewatching Civil War, I think I'm going to have a hard time keeping that long back in my brain thinking like the funny thing is that Civil War, fun to watch. The villain's plot was already hard to buy that he could pull it off. It is much harder to buy now.
See, I disagree because now I know that he has unlimited funds. So now all the trips that he made, all the stuff that he bought doesn't.
No, that's not my problem with it. It's the circumstances of him getting into the building to get access to Bucky that now I have a harder time.
Oh, that makes I
already had a hard time buying it. I have an even harder time buying it.
Yeah.
Rich Baron Zemo, what are you doing here?
It's just very funny. Like, again, like, I accept it. I'd rather have this version of Zemo. It's the Zemo I wanted. So like, whatever. I throw my hands up. It's fine. It's just so funny because it's absolutely 100% when you watch Civil War, not his backstory, not even a little. And they're like, let's just whoop. And I'm glad that they had Sam directly acknowledge it. Like, so you just been rich this whole time? He's like, I'm a Baron, Sam, of course. It's like, sure.
And I like that. Like, even the MCU itself is like, don't worry about it. The dude's look at his trench coat. Look at his silk. Look at his old ass butler. Just like, don't worry about it. Just wave it away. And again, like, that's such a retcon. But like, what, Brandon?
Look at his private jet.
Yeah, and like, he's. Because I like, since this episode, I've gone back and I've read. You read the Nick Spencer Captain America, so Baron Zemo's in there a lot. Baron Zemo in the comics is much more of a regal, sophisticated, suave gentleman guy, but also like very charismatic. Like he is. Man, who's a good comparison? I don't know. He's just the best, is what he is. He's a dude who loves to dance. I love that he has like a criminal underground like network that like he goes into with Madripoor. He's like, oh, I have connections and stuff. So like he's been doing criminal stuff for a long time. And she's like, oh, weren't you in jail? Oh, people like us never stay in jail. I'm like, oh, that shit's so good. It's so rich.
I really like the banter on the jet. I really like the banter in general. The three of them, I think, play off really well with each other. Daniel Bruhl as an actor just slips into that trio very well with Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan, who we've already know can play off each other well. But there's a bit where he's talking about Trouble Man.
Yeah, Marvin Gaye.
And he's like Zemo is the one that really gets the full picture of the African American experience. And Sam's like, look, he's out of line, but he's right.
Yeah. Listen, he's a cultured dude. He's I can't believe that, like, after Civil War, I really never thought this would happen. I thought they would do the thing where they would get his son to be the next Zemo, but we're just making the same guy, that guy who's supposed to be. And like, it's cool. As long as he stays in the MCU, I'm happy.
So, Sparks, Brian, you might really get what I'm going with. Brandon, you might not, but you guys know how in some video games, when you get this like really, really powerful boss character, sorry, Brandon, you say yourself all the time, you don't play video games.
I'm kidding, go.
You know how sometimes when you get this really powerful boss character to join your party and their stats suck compared to when you fought said boss character?
Sure.
I was a little nervous that they're going to do that to Zemo, that Zemo wasn't this big bad, but nope, he is still that badass mofo from Civil War in this one. And that makes me so, like, when I really, going forward in the episode, like when he kills the doctor in just straight cold blood, I'm like, there's the Zemo I know. There he is, always like going, like looking. He's like, hey, I'm not leaving my work unfinished. Pop.
And we talk about character motivations a lot of the time, and I even Civil War, even with the retcon that he's a Baron, his Civil War characterization and what we see in here are completely in line with each other. He kills the dude because he can create the super soldier serum. He's the only one who can. So he kills him. He doesn't want the super soldier serum around. And that is motivating him throughout this entire thing. And it never once goes. I don't think he ever once goes against the motivations we saw him last time. And I think that's pretty cool that even with the major retcon, the through line is still there. It is the same character.
Yeah, the character background significantly changes, but the character himself is like the same character.
Yeah,
he's just way wackier.
he's just motivated by the great callback to Civil War. You're not going to move your seat up, are you? No.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I didn't love it.
Really?
You didn't love it?
No, I'm not going to lie to you. At that point, the callbacks for me got too fan servicey.
Yeah.
Way too many that are specifically recalling moments from the previous films rather than just recalling like them mentioning things that I like. You could tell me a story about a thing I didn't see, rather than having to reference this bit from Winter Soldier and this bit from Civil War and this bit from, and that was a little much for me. And here was my other problem the second time I watched it. I think it would have been far better to have had Bucky move his seat up. He's gonna die on this hill.
Oh, that's a good point.
I think
that is a good point.
I think that
That's a good
Bucky is not trying to be antagonistic to Sam.
That's true.
All he's trying to do right now is get him on his side. It makes no sense character-wise other than funny callback, right? To have Bucky not move the seat up. It would have been a much better character indication and change to have him move the seat up. Would have told something. Would have made Sam think. Instead, it's just comedy.
You know what? I disagree because I actually have so far I have not felt that the show has dipped into too much fan service. I felt it was just enough that I'm still on board.
That's right.
I don't know, Sparks. You actually might have gotten a new convert. I might go on that hill with you. That's actually a good point. That is a very good point. I'm not gonna lie.
I'll be alone. I don't care.
With Bucky's motivation and him trying to be a better person and like Sam not realizing that, I think that would have been a nice moment.
Look, here's the thing. You having the Trouble Man callback, cool, totally accepted it, fine. If you're gonna do the car seat callback too in the episode, don't make it the exact same exchange. Change it and say something about the characters. It doesn't need to just be that thing again.
Member berries.
And that's all. It doesn't really make sense. It doesn't make sense why Bucky would react that way. He's not mad at Sam in this moment. He's not being bitter with him. It doesn't work. It's just there to be a callback, and that made me go. Pfft.
You know who doesn't need to move any seats up though, because she can kill people with her guns, is Sharon Carter, and she was so good. That's
where the Derek Kolstad of this episode really popped for me.
Oh my God,
he wrote this episode.
Yeah, he wrote the episode. The same person directed all 6 episodes, but like the John Wick influence is so heavy on this episode. Like it is very clear. Like just the way she's holding her guns, and I'm like, oh look, it's John Wick. It's John Wick's happening right now. The action is so good. Emily Van Camp, like the couple scenes where she's just wrecking fools in that container area. It's really great action. Just really good stuff.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
I really like how bitter Sharon is.
I'm surprised
I love how bitter she is. Yeah, I like it. I'm like, because she's survived the blip, but since like Sam's gone and everyone who essentially could help her after the whole Civil War incident is gone, she's like, I got nothing else to do, so I'm just gonna steal art in Madripoor.
Yeah, she's like the anti Diana Prince. Like she steals art and shit. I love it.
I do really like her reaction about she's even disillusioned with Steve Rogers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like she's like, that's a lie, right? You don't actually believe in the Shield, and
yeah,
I do. I think that's it's an interesting place to hit the character.
I think it's going to bring her back around to being back to the American lady.
Mm-hmm. I like especially because it puts Sam again focal on the perspective of the Shield and that kind of stuff. I like the character choice. I like the writing. Something about Emily Van Camp's acting in that scene didn't sell me on that moment.
Okay.
When she's calling Bucky like sidekick America or whatever she called him, I was like, something in here feels a little off. I don't know. And I would blame the acting because I think the writing's actually fine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The silence of should we move on to another point or should we continue?
That's all I wanted to say about Look. Like I'm really happy to see the character. I support entirely what they're doing with the character. And it's really just that scene, that first scene where she's doing that bit where she's talking about, you know, the shield's not real, the heroes aren't real, that kind of thing. Yeah. And she feels off in performance compared to the others. It feels forced in some way that I can't put my finger on, but it just took me out of it a bit.
You know what line I really did like? I stole to have your ass save his ass from his ass.
Yeah.
I like that.
This episode specifically felt very, very Lethal Weapon-esque.
On a note of performances, this isn't me like saying I noticed it or anything. I just thought of the question and I wanted to ask the question to see what you guys thought. Do you think that Zemo's accent sounds like Wanda's accent, especially having heard it more in WandaVision?
I couldn't tell you. I only watch these things once.
I've always assumed that he's just using his normal German accent.
Yeah, I have too.
So it doesn't sound like Wanda's to me.
That's what I was thinking. I'm like,
I think he's just doing him. Yeah. I think that's that's like a pre. They didn't really think about it. Oh, he might not be coming
because they're
back.
both Sokovian.
Yeah.
Especially because I guess you can go, well, he's high class Sokovian.
Yeah.
So it sounds
which
like
is just
this,
German.
where she's just poor Sokovian.
Yeah. You know, it's like England. You know, they have Cockney and then like the high class Britain.
Good.
Yeah.
Anyway,
the Sokovian accent is funny. When they cast Daniel Bruhl, that was around the time that the Russo brothers were like, we're gonna not use the accent anymore. Just gonna let him do his own thing.
It's fine. For most middle Americans, you know, European accents, they're all the same to them. So like, who cares? Like, really?
Yeah. My only thing is I just want Wanda to use the accent more. I thought it was a good character choice, and hopefully she does.
I think now she will have it. I think that show made a whole thing about it. Yeah.
But yeah, Daniel Bruhl, I think he's just German. Ka-chow!
I think he is too, which is why I wanted to.
Yeah.
Why I wanted to bring it up, because I'm like,
he doesn't have to.
That's so weird.
He doesn't have to focus on acting and doing an accent. He could just be his most charismatic self. You know, dance the night away.
Yeah.
Power Broker. Something interesting that's different from the comics. The Power Broker, very much in the comics, is like the Tinkerer. He's just like, there's just people who give people superpowers. But in the MCU, he's like a criminal like organization, like mastermind. There's like Big Brother graffiti on the walls that he's like watching you. It's a very different take. That's when they were initially talking about the Power Broker, I didn't expect him to be like this. Like when we go to Madripoor, he's like, he owns the town. You know what I mean? I think it's an interesting, cool thing. I wonder, people think Sharon Carter's the Power Broker. People think Zemo's the Power Broker.
I think she's working for the Power Broker.
You think she's working for him?
She calls somebody.
I think she's working for the Power Broker, but I don't think she is the Power Broker.
Yeah. I hope they don't lean. I hope we get that stuff resolved. I hope that's not like a season, like an episode 6.
The only reason her working for the Power Broker doesn't make a ton of sense for me is why would the Power Broker let her lead them to the guy who makes the serum?
Yeah, that's what I thought. And then they killed him.
But I also don't know who else she'd be calling.
I mean, she went into a car, some other organization. Who knows? Could be the European Shield.
One of the things that we like talking about is the connections to the MCU and how the MCU properties all connect in various ways. Hashtag it's all connected. Thank you, Jeff Loeb. The interesting thing about this dude who made the super soldier serum, he's the only person since Erskine who's perfected it. Bruce tried, and he became the Hulk in this franchise. I think that's really... What'd you say?
Because it wasn't perfected. Yeah, that's what happened.
Because Bruce in Incredible Hulk, Bruce says that, or at least Thunderbolt Ross says that he thought gamma radiation would be the key to unlocking the formula, and it turned him into the Hulk. I don't know who made Isaiah's formula in this franchise, because he's not the first Captain America this time. He's the second. Mm-hmm. So it'd be interesting. So maybe there's another person smarter, but it is interesting that like we've just met like
we don't know
one of the smartest person in the MCU.
We don't know that he's not the first Captain America. We don't know that.
I guess I just assumed that because he was in the 50s, he was the second.
Yes, he's active in the 50s, but that's only a handful of years after Steve disappears.
Yeah.
True.
he could have been one of the people who was tested on that they found out later it worked on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then they made him Captain America. I just wanted to say, like, because of how his story is in the comics, he could have been a test subject that they were using as, you know, disposable life before it got to Steve.
Yeah.
And he could have had it before.
Yeah, I guess I guess I am assuming, I am making some logic leaps. I just assume that because that he was a test subject as well, but after Steve to try to make a new Captain America. But yeah, it could work either way. We don't really know at this point. We kind of just taking bits and pieces.
I assume we're gonna get a whole lot more of that stuff.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. I think that because they said 50s, I'm like, that's tight enough. He could be, because especially because they're talking about, you know, no one's had Erskine super soldier serum. So like, how would Isaiah have one that they only were able to make him?
Yeah.
So it kind of makes more sense that it would have been him tested on pre-Steve, but.
And they hit him because like,
yeah,
like, oh, it worked. Now let's get a white guy to get it done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's anyway, that's just my 2 cents on that part. Yeah, I noticed something when I watched it the second time that really irked me a little, which is when they get the scientist dude, the Falcon runs him through and he's like, you know who this is, Winter Soldier, and he's like, and that's Zemo. I know you've heard of him. And he's like, so why don't you tell us all about, you know, the stuff? And he's like, counter proposal, make me a better offer. And then it cuts to Sharon kicking some ass, and then it cuts back into the room and he's sitting in a chair and Bucky shoots a gun near his ear and he's like, okay, I'll talk. And I'm like,
that's not a better offer.
That's not a better offer. That's the same threat of force that he was just saying, make me a better offer to before. But okay.
Maybe if there was a line where like the better offer is I don't kill you. And then he's like, okay, but there's not a line. It's just like, oh, I guess we're just not going to talk about the thing I just said. Okay.
He just had this energy that was like, I'm not afraid of a threat of violence, because that's obviously what just pointing out the Winter Soldier was.
Yeah.
He didn't need to shoot a gun near his head to make that clear.
Yeah.
He knows he's a killer. So it's just like he was saying, give me more money. And they ultimately just end up like, I'll blow this gun near your head. And he'll be like, oh, dang. Okay. You're right.
Yeah.
Gunshot is the threat level I needed to be broken.
There's like a cut. There's like a missing scene right there.
Yeah.
I like Bucky's arc in the show. The idea that like he's kind of been forced, and like Zemo's doing this on purpose, obviously, but like forcing himself to revert back to the Winter Soldier in many places. Also, that the booklet is Steve's. I didn't catch that the first time. I thought that was cool.
Yeah. Bucky's in an interesting place where they're able to use him, because the world doesn't know that the Winter Soldier, well, most of the world doesn't know about the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, most of the world that does know about the Winter Soldier doesn't know that he's okay.
Yeah, they still think he's probably just on ice somewhere.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is really an interesting thing.
Wouldn't the world know about the Winter Soldier at this point because of the info dump at the end of Winter Soldier? With all of Hydra's secrets laid out? What I mean is that they know of his existence. They don't know about
his change.
They don't know that he's active and alive. Most people think he's on ice or dead.
Right. So they are aware of him, but I guess they don't know he's a hero now.
That's what I mean. Or they don't know that he's around.
Yeah.
Like nobody really knows that.
And then Zemo's got him. Bing bong.
Yeah.
I love
Zemo manipulates him.
Yeah, like the second Zemo sees him, he immediately goes like longing, freight train, Spider-Man, Homecoming.
It's something that they've never really tackled. Does the world still think Bucky killed King T'Chaka?
I guess so. Because what happens at the end of this episode?
No. Because the world, that's Wakanda knowing that Zemo did it.
Oh, sorry. That's
does the world still think that Bucky did it? Because they reported on the news. That's how they found him.
Probably.
And so do they just think that the CIA apprehended him? That's the end of the Winter Soldier to the public story.
I would imagine we've gotten, because of what we know about Winter Soldier, Endgame, with what Sword knows, I would imagine that the public knows that it was Zemo and not, because the public right now the MCU is assuming that the public knows what the audience knows. The public inside the MCU knows what the audience knows.
Well, the public doesn't know everything, obviously, that the audience knows about the Winter Soldier, because they all think that Zemo's controlling him.
Right, sure.
So I'm just wondering, like, what does Sarah? Okay, someone who would be associated with Sarah. Sarah might know the truth.
They think Captain America's on the moon.
What does someone associated with Sarah think? Yeah, or what do they think happened there? Do they think that still that this is just, it doesn't matter. Yeah. I'm just spitballing here. I'm like, I wonder if they ever cleared up the Winter Soldier in public, or if they just, was it more complicated to explain why they arrested the now we know rich Baron Zemo of Sokovia and put him in prison for the crimes of King T'Chaka because he pretended to be Bucky on the news? Or do we just say we caught the assassin that everybody knows about?
I'm going to guess because right after Civil War, Infinity War happens. They're just like, too complicated.
That's
it was
2 years,
Bucky.
my man. That's 2 years.
Okay. All right. I still think it was probably just Bucky.
Bucky would still be a fugitive under the Sokovian laws. I'm going to say that the public knows that it was Zemo who killed King T'Chaka.
Hey guys, do you totally think that America, the moment that they got the Sokovia Accords in place, was like, yo, make us some super soldiers? Because that's definitely what it sounds like with the CIA working on super soldiers before he turned to dust.
Yeah.
What do you
think?
Pretty sure they greenlit the Sokovia Accords and went, now we're going to license out super soldiers.
Where are you at, Thunderbolt Ross?
Interesting that it was the CIA?
Yeah.
That's what they're called? So the CIA. Yeah. Interesting that it was the CIA and not like SWORD or Sharon worked for the CIA, I guess.
No, it's good that it isn't Sword or S.H.I.E.L.D. It has to be the American government trying to weasel. This is good because this is basically what John Walker's based out of.
Yeah.
Is that they're trying to weasel their way around part of the Sokovia Accord.
They still want super soldiers.
They're like, yo, but these are the government, licensed super soldiers.
They're not autonomous.
We're not breaking the Accords. This is something that we've made within the Accords.
They work for us.
Yeah.
They are all about oversight.
How do you pronounce your name at the end?
Ao?
Yeah, I think it's Ao.
Ao? Okay. Yeah, that's cool. I didn't expect that at all.
Not at all.
So the director of these 6 episodes has said that episode 5 is going to make you cry, and there's a big thing in it, and everyone's speculating because this show was filmed before Chadwick Boseman passed.
I mean,
and they're dealing with him. Yeah, this was filmed in 2019. He passed in 2020. I looked at it. People are talking about it now. This is, of course, this is big Mephisto speculation. But if they said that there's more Wakanda stuff happening, that could just be more of Ao doing stuff. But they're saying there's a big thing happening in episode 5, and it's really emotional. I don't think they're going to kill any of our main characters. I think there's a chance that the Black Panther might show up for a second.
I don't think so. I'm going to use COVID-19 as the excuse because they stopped filming quickly after they started because of COVID-19.
Okay.
And I think because of that, I don't expect to see T'Challa in this. Chadwick Boseman.
This show, okay. He okay. There was still plenty of time. He was alive during all that stuff.
But not while they were filming, because they didn't start filming this again until WandaVision was almost done.
Okay. I trust you then. Okay.
I could be wrong.
I'm just saying,
and they could have filmed him before that.
They could have filmed his one cameo. That's a 1-minute scene very early. Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, I'm ready for that because, I think that'd be really cool. I don't think the director would say something like that and not,
That would be cool. I would like to see that again. It would be cool. I'm not saying it's impossible to happen. I'm not even saying I don't want it to happen. I just because of the timeline of the virus and how this filmed, I think it's unlikely, but I'd still like to see it.
I wonder what would really be worthwhile in T'Challa interacting with Zemo at this point, given the last scene they had in Civil War.
Also, but I mean, it's also just like Bucky and Sam too. I mean, just as a fun cameo.
No, I get that. I just mean why big picture wise would it be relevant for T'Challa? He already said Ao. Why would it be relevant for him himself to interact with Zemo again after he already decided to let King T'Chaka's death be passed on the CIA's judgment of Zemo?
I don't have the answers.
Yeah.
He wants to talk to the guy who killed his dad. I don't know.
I'd be interested to see. If that happens, that'd be really interesting.
I just bring that up because the director did an interview and he's like, episode 5 is a real big one, you guys. And I'm just like, it's a red issue. It's like an X-Men issue. I'm just like, it could be nothing, but it's, I don't think he does that interview after someone from Wakanda comes out. And otherwise he would just say, yeah, it's the same character, you know? I just think I think it's fun speculation.
Yeah, that's good.
Why would she come though?
That's a good question. That was my
Why
question.
would she even come?
Well, that's what I mean is that I understand why like Wakanda's coming in general. They want to make sure that Zemo is apprehended and serves punishment for the death of T'Chaka.
Okay, cool.
I'm just saying, like, I'm not sure why T'Challa would himself get involved.
Yeah, that makes sense.
In this moment, if he already sent Ao.
Yeah.
And also at the end, like Spark said, at the end of Civil War, to Black Panther, T'Challa, he had his chance to like end Zemo right then and there, but he says like, and he stops him from killing himself. It's like the living are not done with you yet, and he personally like delivers him to the UN to throw him in jail. So I mean, who knows?
When I saw when I saw Bucky picking up those balls, I was like, "The hell are those? I don't know what those are. This is important." Oh, her.
Yeah, they're like, aren't they part of like the?
Yeah, they're part of the beat.
Yeah.
I didn't immediately catch on to it.
Neither did I. I was like, is this some like Sokovian thing? Like there's some symbols on there.
Did Zemo drop this?
Yeah. Funny enough, when I saw this, I'm like, oh, someone from Wakanda's here. Who could it be?
Who do you think shot Sibney?
Who?
The woman that they're meeting with.
So there's the lady with the short hair in Madripoor.
She gets shot through the window, and they get pinned for it in Madripoor.
Is it not Sharon? Oh, Sharon's in the room with them.
No, Sharon's not in the room with them. I thought it was Sharon.
Yeah,
I assume
but
Sharon.
the episode doesn't tell us who it is.
I think it might be Sharon.
I thought
I assume Sharon.
I don't think it was Sharon because you can easily see that Sharon is in the bar. She sees them. She pulls her hood farther down,
and then she leaves the bar.
Oh yeah, true. She leaves the bar. So.
I think that might be a red herring. I think they want us to think that Sharon did this, or she's just on like she's in her bad mode right now. Who knows?
Because Sharon kills the two people. Sharon kills the two people, saving them before she shows up. So that's what I assume.
Hypothetical: Sharon shot her to make them have to go on the run in Madripoor, so she'd have to bail them out so that she can work out a deal to save herself.
That seems very Zemo Civil War, very complicated.
I don't think showing her walking them in the bar.
It's establishing shots of her that she's a match for.
No,
I'm just saying, like, I don't know who else would shoot the person
I agree.
that would
I agree. I just don't think like, oh, it's Bucky and Sam. I'm immediately going to get to go home. I don't think that's her first thought.
I do think that
running her own business.
I think she wants them framed for something.
Yeah, maybe.
So because they're gonna get framed for it anyway. I would buy that she wants them framed because I don't think there's something with the power broker and her that she's not on the up and up at this moment, and I think that has something to do with the reason why I believe she shot the girl. But I don't know what
I think she might be doing like a triple quadruple agent thing going on here. Like some real spy shit where like she might be screwing over the good guys while working for the bad guy, but to screw over the bad guy. Like deep cover shit because she's like working for criminals right now. Yeah. But also she's like an American lady who's using her like name. So like they know she used to work for the government. So who knows? I don't know. I'm really curious what happens with Sharon because they put her in such an interesting spot.
When Sharon shows up, because Sharon shows up three episodes into a 6-episode show. And again, love the show, but that was the moment where I was like, oh, I don't know how you wrap this up. I don't know how you wrap up her specifically.
Unless she really is just like a 2-episode arc where like she's just like the Madripoor arc is like with this in this next episode. Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. That she's the one where I worry about the wrap up, about the character arc wrapping up. Because, going back to WandaVision, because it's the most easily comparable, Teyonah Parris, Kat Dennings, and Randall Park, their arcs didn't wrap up satisfactory to me. And I worry that a similar thing will happen with Sharon, specifically Sharon. Most everyone, but specifically with Sharon is the one where I point to like I don't know how you wrap it up.
Yeah, I agree. That definitely has been a contributing factor of why I feel that way about where this is going.
It's so funny because like when these before the TV show started, we were like, man, they have so much more time. They can flesh everything out, but really they can't because they still decide to focus on certain things instead of other things, instead of just like fully evolving everything. And I guess that's just when you're doing it for your first attempts, it's hard to do that, I guess.
I for one am sitting here like I really want a satisfying arc conclusion to the story of what's going on with Sam and Sarah's stuff from their family. And I'm really nervous that it's just going to be a 6 episode. Solved it. Boom, gone.
Episode 6 epilogue is them fixed it.
Yeah. Fixed it.
Yeah.
The end.
I have a bad feeling about that too. Like they truncated like the cool political stuff.
There are issues here that there's growing pains. The next shows it could be better because they learn their mistakes. The COVID-19 restrictions that they had to do, filming most of this stuff during COVID, definitely is a problem. We saw that with WandaVision. That ended up affecting the story. So I kind of will give them like the benefit of the doubt in that sense of, I get this is your first attempt, but I still feel like there could be more, you could be doing more here.
Yeah. And again, like this was the first TV show because they made this before.
It was meant to be the first TV show, yeah.
Yeah, so like even then, like this was going to be like their first experience at it.
I think depending on how this plays out, we might be headed for an interesting discussion of like how valuable is it to do a story like Falcon and Winter Soldier, not as a film and as a TV show, if you're not going to explore some of that wider character stuff.
100%.
Like how much are we just like extra milking what we've got, but not necessarily building more.
Yes.
Yeah. Then there's the issue of how do these TV shows building into movies, of how valuable are the shows if they're just meant to be preludes to movies, like we saw with WandaVision. A lot of the reason why WandaVision felt cold to me is that it at the end of the day, I was like, oh wait, so to wrap up the story, I have to watch Doctor Strange. Which isn't necessarily a problem that I felt the MCU has had up until this point. So it's like, well, if I'm constantly going to these TV shows just to be teased for the next movie, I will question, much like we question like how valuable the shows are, of like whether or not those TV shows are even valuable.
I push on that back on that just a little, in the sense that like if we went to Doctor Strange without WandaVision and Wanda was just the way she was, you and I would both be chomping at the bit over wanting that story in like a comic form or something of how Wanda ended up the way she is. So that's what the show is. The show is that, yes, we got it first, so it feels like a tee up, but it is that background that we're going to need for when we meet her.
I understand that, but when we were pitched these shows by Feige himself, we were not pitched them as tee ups for movies. We were pitched them as individual stories with these characters that matter. And I don't, if they are tee ups, then I feel a little cheated.
I feel like WandaVision's still a whole story for Wanda, even if in the same sense that like Iron Man is still a whole story, but also leaves open the door of what's coming next. Wanda leaves open a door and a clue of what's coming next, but it's still...
I think because literally, Brandon, like the last thing you see in WandaVision is a tease for Doctor Strange 2. I think that's why like the last thing you see of that show is the tease for the next movie, why you could feel that way. I do think...
That's not why I feel that way. That's not why I feel that way. And I don't mean to get into a discussion of WandaVision, but at the ending of WandaVision, not the mid and post, which are constant MCU staples that I'm always on board for. It is the fact that I do not feel WandaVision as a show wraps up with a complete nice bow of this as much as a movie, as much as we've seen with movies. I don't know if I'm going to feel that way about Falcon and Winter Soldier, to bring it back to Falcon and Winter Soldier, because we're talking about that. I don't know if I'm going to feel that way, because Falcon and Winter Soldier, we don't know leads into a movie. This is just the story we're getting of these two characters. We don't know where their story leads next, unlike with Wanda. So I don't know if they're going to have that same issue for me. And I got to stress at this point, this is a me problem.
Yeah. Man. Yeah, I think... I hope this just ends with like Sam in like a Captain America outfit, and like I don't expect them to like announce a movie or anything, but like we already knew the next thing that Scarlet Witch was going to be in, right? Like after WandaVision, she's in this movie, and we don't know that with these two characters. I really hope that when this show ends, they will tell us like we know where they're gonna go, and like this was their story, and this is the next trajectory of their path. Because like There was a little moment of like Bucky talking with Sam, like, "Oh, I'll take the shield if you're just going to destroy it." And I'm like, "There's no world that I want to live in where Bucky is Captain America when we have Sam." But Bucky was Captain America in the comics, and there was something a part of me like that would be cool if like Sam realizes, "Oh, I do need to be Captain America." Well, Bucky tries it out and doesn't like it, and I'm like, they'll never do that either, though.
Do you guys remember ages ago when before the show started filming, Anthony Mackie said, "I've already tried on my Captain America outfit."
Oh, good.
That was a long time ago, and then he backed up. He stopped saying it, obviously, because the show started forming. But like I remember that very vividly, so I do think the show ends with him being Captain America.
I really hope so. I think that would be just bold of them to just be like, yeah, the next Captain America, it's Sam Wilson. His movie comes out not even anytime soon. Captain America. Sam Wilson coming out in 2024, whatever.
I think that they also just haven't decided if they're going to do another season of them, but with him as Cap.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, he could just call it Captain America.
Because that's the other thing is like they've been cheeky about if this is a standalone like WandaVision was. Yeah. And the unfortunate answer we might be heading for is the reason why we're going to feel like it's impossible to wrap up all this stuff is because maybe they're just not planning to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's not necessarily to tee up for a show, but to tee up for another season.
Yeah, that's true. Because we don't know if what is single seasons and multiple seasons type shows like.
Yeah, as far as we know, they're all single seasons, but we've speculated what shows seem to be built for more than one, like Hawkeye and this, and who knows?
Yeah,
and that I want to be satisfied by the end of the season, but if I'm not, I would rather that there was just another season of the show to explore these ideas. I think than a movie that has to do it.
Yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see. As long as there's more Zemo and his big ass furry trench coat, I'm happy.
So Bucky's definitely in trouble because people filmed him on their phones being the Winter Soldier.
Oh, totally.
That should be like Madripoor law. You guys are a bunch of like in a criminal bar. You can't just be filming all your criminal activities. You guys are bad criminals. Come on.
I wonder if that's going to be a thing.
Oh, I'm pretty sure it is. I don't think
I feel like they showed that shot for a reason.
Yeah, I would think they would show a shot of people filming Bucky, whose face is all over the world as the Winter Soldier, kicking ass and taking aim. So I'm pretty sure he is screwed with a capital S.
But again, it's so interesting because it's not like they're at a bar in Cincinnati. They're at a bar in a criminal nation.
Like
so it's weird framing that like a bunch of like regular people, I guess, are at this bar, but it's like a criminal bar. I don't know.
The government thinks that he's working with Captain America.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
Because that's what the second episode kind of leads into. Like, he's going to be late on his things because he's working for me. We don't know if John Walker said, "Oh, by the way, that didn't work out, so he's in trouble now." We don't know what happened there.
Oh, that's true.
So I don't know. I'm just speculating.
Oh yeah, man. I wonder if Captain America is like, that Winter Soldier guy, no good. Let's collect him up. I wonder if that's going to be a thing.
Maybe.
I don't know.
We'll find out.
I bet what's going to happen is he's going to do something real crappy because he says he doesn't care about how he doesn't think Langley's going to care about how the job gets done. Langley, he's still working for the CIA.
Yeah.
He doesn't care. They're not going to care about how it gets done as long as the job gets done. And he's going to do something super crappy. And they're going to throw Bucky under the bus using the footage of him as the Winter Soldier as the means to say
he did it. Just like Civil War. Poor Bucky. God.
Yeah,
poor guy can't get a break.
And the Flagsmashers
finally gets a character.
Like, you know what? We were there. It was Cap. And then they're gonna have to work with the Flagsmashers.
Oh, okay, yeah. Carly. Oh, lots of fun stuff. We'll find out next time on. I was gonna say Basement Arcade.
On Victor's Watch.
Wrong show, bro.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm good.
Hell yeah.
I'm good too.
Our dog agrees.
Luna's good. All right, why don't I sign us off then? Right. Okay, so that'll do it. Falcon the Winter Soldier, Fake News Watch, episode 3. Tension's running hot because we may not all be on the same page. It's fun. It's good. It's where we get the.
Hey, there's no tension here. I don't believe in tension. I got a knife. Cut that tension with butter. Like butter.
Are you saying the sexual tension between us is not real?
I got to mute myself again.
All right, that'll do it. So stay tuned for more of this. Obviously, we're doing this every week as long as Falcon Winter Soldier is on the air. So 3 more episodes coming up. Other than that, you can find us all over the internet. Definitely this channel. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel to get other shows such as Basement Arcade, as Ryan almost said this show was. Basement Arcade Pause Mini, which Ben just put up a episode with Retro Blast.
Yes, right? Retro Blast Podcast. You're right.
Cool. We also have Fake Nerds Book Club, which we have 2 episodes of Little Char and the Gang. It's the 3rd episode, I guess, whenever. And then, of course, our main show, which is Fake Nerd Podcast, which everything kind of falls under, which we have just done. I'm getting better at figuring out when this episode goes out, which we have just done a review of Godzilla vs. Kong. So find out what we thought about that. Up now. Of course, there's also Conversation, which is our audio podcast for you audio listeners if you want to listen to that. That's my project that I'm working on. New episodes every Thursday. And that'll do it. Until next time, I'm BT McClure on Instagram and Twitter. Ben.
You can find me on the internet at BenMagnet27 on Instagram and Twitter. Sorry, I don't have anything witty to say this time.
Sparks?
It's okay. I'm made of witty, and I will say that I am going to be at Sparks Witty, wondering if Carly will ever get to be a teacher on Instagram and Twitter. SPARKZ Witty.
How do you tell us? Oh, I want to be a teacher, and then have her kill a bunch of people? That's that's bad. That's bad. I'm at DJ Tony Snark. I'm gonna not complain about that on Twitter. But you can talk about me. Find me. Talk about X-Men and stuff. Big bar.
You can find all of our links, such as Patreon, TeePublic, FakeNerdPodcast.com, Fake Nerd Podcast on all the socials. And until next time you see us, stay fake nerds.
Battlestar.